What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of La Banca Podcast in English. I'm your host, Mark, aka Marquinho, aka Che Segovia, alongside my co-host Aurelio. What's going on, bud?
Nothing much here. A little tired, but we're here.
Yeah, man. I know we all a little bit tired, man. We might have to discuss how we're gonna do these Spanish and English shows back to back. It's getting a little late sometimes, but
Yes.
regardless, we're still here, man. We're trying to still give you good content and good quality information about what's going on in the world of soccer, man. We got a lot of things going on right now. I know we have a couple of international. We have an international break coming up here this next week, so a lot of international matches coming up. But one of the ones that we're gonna talk about in particular doesn't have to do with senior team players, but more the youth. The U23 Olympic Qualifiers are going on right now in the CONCACAF, and obviously there's a big deal of interest in those U23 qualifiers. For those who don't know, they're divided into two groups: Group A and Group B. Group A has been decided already. Let's be on. Well, they've already been decided. Mexico and USA are advancing from the Group A stage with both of them 6 points. Ironically enough, both of them face each other in the last match tomorrow, I believe at 8:30. I'm not too sure. I gotta check that time. Let me know if you see it differently already on your
No,
on your
I think
side.
it's around 8:30.
Yeah. So, it'll be a great look for those two teams. Obviously, that's the biggest match, the Clasico around for this region. But a game realistically, there's really nothing in line except whether or not you're going to finish first or second in that group. Group B, which features Honduras, Salvador, Haiti, and Canada, has not been decided yet because we have quite a bit of ties going on in that group. Canada had an opportunity yesterday to grab a hold of that group and finish on top by beating Haiti, but ended up tying with those guys. The same goes for Honduras, who finished in a tie with El Salvador, 1-1 tie in that game. So we go to the final match day for that group with 2 spots open up, which is all you can ask for when you're in a group match play. Aurelio, obviously, so with Group B being wide open, obviously the final match being Canada and Honduras, they just need a draw for both of them to qualify. Do you think that any one of them goes above and beyond to make sure the other one doesn't qualify and gives the other two a chance to maybe grab a spot?
Man, it's at the end of the day, it's going to be up to them. If they both want to take the easy way out, just tie it 0-0 and move on to live another day. But I'm like, sometimes you're gonna want to show off. You want to be first, and you want to give somebody else a shot. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm like, it's not like none. It's not like any other team hasn't done it before.
Yeah, it's a fairly odd situation for both teams because obviously both of them can qualify with just a tie. But then again, these are our Olympic qualifiers. These games are usually scouted very highly because clubs are looking for young talent, from different areas of the world, and especially with up and coming teams like Canada, who've garnished a lot more European talent these last couple of years with players like Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, players of those qualities, going overseas. I'm sure there's a lot of scouts looking at the youth in Canada right now to see if they can find another diamond in the rough per se. And the same thing with Honduras. Honduras has a couple of players in European leagues at this moment with players like Chucky Lozano, not Chucky Lozano, Anthony Lozano, who plays for Cadiz in the Premier League, in La Liga, or players like Albert Feliz from Honduras, who plays in the Boavista Premier League, first division in Portugal. So, that's another country that gets scouted fairly good, to see if they can find some young talent, up-and-coming talent to take over to Europe. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. Obviously, where my heart lies in that Group B with El Salvador. Unfortunately, for me, our U23 squad isn't looking too good, unfortunately. They had a little rough patch in the beginning in the first game where Canada falling back 2-0 in the first half, and then obviously kind of picking up the pace in the second half, but failing to score any goals in that second half in that first game. But then against Honduras, man, they looked a little bit. They played okay, but they didn't play united. It seemed like a lot of players were missing easy passes. A lot of passes were not being made, and then obviously the goal that was scored, it was a really good, it was a good goal. I mean, a good goal shot beginning, but then obviously the goalie saved it, and then they were able to rebound it and put it in. Honduras had an opportunity to take the 2-1 lead, but one of the players missed for sure goal right there, like 5 feet away from the goalpost in an empty net. So I think we kind of bit the bullet there and saved ourselves in that one, or the soccer gods saved us to live another day. So hopefully we'll see, man, what happens. Obviously, for El Salvador, they need to have a good offensive showing against Haiti. Hopefully they do. Let's not. We're not gonna. I'm hoping they don't underestimate the Haiti team, because obviously Haiti went in there and tied against Canada, and that's the reason why Canada hasn't qualified for their spot yet in the next round. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. Any predictions for those two games, man? Aside from, and we'll save the U.S.-Mexico game for last to predict. But do you think Salvador can pull it off against Haiti, or score enough goals at least to make it interesting?
I'm pretty sure they can. I'm pretty sure they have the talent. Like, not to offend anybody from Haiti or anything like that, but I'm like, it's going to be hard for them. The only other thing I can think of besides those two would be the Costa Rica Honduras game. They also have to be careful with
Canada.
any players that have yellows,
Yeah.
because if they get a second yellow, they're not going to play that semifinal.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So,
true. That's
so,
was
so
good to know.
those that's another thing you have to do. Same thing with this. I was going to say same thing with that Mexico U.S. game. There's a couple. I know from Mexico. I know there's a couple players that they already have yellow, which I'm pretty sure they're going to sit down because they don't want to risk them getting another yellow and then being suspended for the following game.
Yeah, obviously there's going to be a lot of tactical changes for this last Mexico USA game. They don't want to risk anybody that's on a yellow that can get a second one to be not available for the next round of qualifiers in this U23 Olympic tournament. So I don't expect the USA or Mexico to have their full squad out there, or their full A-list players out there. But I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I mean, it's still Clásico in this region for US Mexico. Obviously, I think, from my standpoint, I think it's going to end up in a tie. I think I mentioned in the Spanish show, I think I'm going to go with a 2-2 tie. Aurelio, what are your predictions for that Mexico USA?
I'll probably do a 1-1.
1-1 tie. So you're going tie as well. Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. I'm still holding out, man. I'm still holding out for El Salvador to figure it out and hopefully put a 3-0. Would be very nice, and hopefully somebody from Honduras or Canada wins that game, because if both of them, if they tie, then it doesn't really matter what Salvador does, or Haiti in that sense. But hopefully one of those two clubs or nations can do us a favor and beat the other one, and then we can take care of Haiti and score at least 3 goals on those guys without conceiving. So we'll see, man. Hopefully we'll see, but it'll be an interesting last day for the group stage of the qualifiers in the Olympic tournament for in the CONCACAF region. So we'll see what happens, man. But moving on to another tournament, but a club tournament, and the biggest club tournament of them all, obviously. This past Friday, the quarterfinals were announced in the Champions League. A lot of great matches, man. I know we have one of our co-hosts that's really, 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 really happy. Might not be the one that you expected to be happy, or the one that we predicted to be happy, and Little Man trying to get Porto. But yeah, man. So let me call off the matches real quick, and then we'll go one-on-one to see which one, what we're liking, our predictions for those. But obviously, we're going to have Man City versus Borussia Dortmund. We're going to have Madrid versus Liverpool. We're going to have Chelsea versus Porto. And then at the end, we're going to have – oh, my screen just messed up here. Sorry. Bayern Munich and PSG, rematch of last year's Champions League final. So let's start out with that one, Aurelio. Obviously, that was last year's final for Champions League. A very tight game last year. A lot of chances that PSG had that on that match to actually come out as victors for that match, but obviously they didn't execute on their end, and Bayern Munich did, and they ended up being champions of Europe. But do you think that PSG has enough in them to get the revenge and to move on to the next round, to the semifinals of the Champions League?
Honestly, I don't think they do. I think at the end of the day, Bayern's probably man for man is just a bigger team. Have better on if you go line by line. I'm like their offense, defense, and midfield. I think Bayern is just solid. But I'm like you can never predict. Uh, PSG's going to come out with with wanting some revenge of what happened to them. So I'm gonna say Bayern, but man, it's if PSG can get their lines right and get their tactics correct, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, what we do know is PSG do have phenomenal talent up front. With obviously with Mbappe and Neymar, which I think he'll be back by that time for those matches. Um, when you got two superstar players like that, two game changers like that, anything can happen, obviously, and those guys, they've played in big matches all throughout their career, so they know what it takes to win and to advance in tournament plays. But like you said, Bayern Munich, man, Bayern Munich is a monster of a team, stacked everywhere from starting 11, the bench. I mean, you just look at that bench of theirs and you see players sit down on that bench and you're like, man, those guys could be starting for PSG. Some of them, if not all of them, and just the talent depth that they have is just phenomenal, and it's amazing to see. Bayern Munich is if not if they have to be the favorites going into the quarterfinals right now to lift the Champions League Cup for a second consecutive year. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go with Bayern Munich on this one. Obviously with what you said, just having a more stacked team. I think they have a more complete team, obviously, and a more talented team. And then they have a number 9 in Lewandowski, who, man, he's tearing it up. Him and Haaland right now are just 1A and 1B as far as number 9s in the world right now. With Lewandowski just staying on par with him, with that young phenom, he's still out here showing that, hey, my crown isn't being taken anytime soon yet, son. So, Lewandowski's out there doing the thing, and I think he's trying to prove that they should have kept the Ballon d'Or last year because he still wants that trophy, and I think he's going to get it this year. So we'll see what happens, especially if he lifts the Champions League trophy again.
Yeah,
I think they should give him 2 for one in 1 year, man. But let's move on to the next match, man. Manchester City versus Borussia Dortmund. We'll keep it with the German teams here. Borussia Dortmund, obviously on the shoulders of Erling Haaland, and Manchester City just being the complete team they are right now. What are your thoughts on this matchup, man? Obviously, it's going to be a really good matchup between a team that's dominating their league on one hand, and another team that's kind of struggling to keep pace with what their sights are supposed to be for and their league play.
yeah. I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna go with Man City. It's a ball dominant team. If they can dominate percentage possession of that ball, I'm like Holland can't do nothing if he doesn't have the ball. So I'm gonna go with Man City. Just their style of play, their defense, their midfield, their attacking. I'm like it's at par with anybody else in the world, and I don't see Dortmund. I'm not gonna say it to be easy, but I don't see Dortmund coming out of this victorious.
Yeah, man. It's going to be a tough task for Dortmund. I think them drawing Sevilla in the last round, I mean, Sevilla took them to the pinnacle, to the end as well. But obviously, when you have a player of the and the form Haaland is right now, anything's possible. And obviously, he showed that when he carried them up against Sevilla. But I think Manchester City is a whole nother beast here. I think, in my opinion, they're the second favorites behind Bayern Munich to win this Champions League, this year's edition of Champions League. Manchester City, obviously, they're basically have the Premier League locked up. They're still playing, obviously like FA Cup. They still have the Carabao Cup final coming up with Tottenham, but still, I mean, their main focus here now for Pep Guardiola is just Champions League. To be honest, let's be realistic. I think this is the elusive trophy. The reason why Manchester City brought Pep Guardiola to Manchester And what year, what timing would be perfect for them to just go ahead and lift that. This year, I think it's one of those years where he's doing it with a club with a team that's not as offensive powered as he had before, but he has a team that's more defensive minded than what he's used to, which I think is something good in his to have in his arsenal. So yeah, I think I'm gonna agree with you on this one, and I'm gonna go Manchester City to go above Borussia Dortmund on this in this round. But I mean, I won't. But I'm not gonna say it's gonna be something easy. But I do think that Erling Haaland is gonna show face one of the games. He's gonna show the talent that he wants to portray, and who knows, Haaland might be playing the City jersey next year. But moving on to the next game, Chelsea Porto. Obviously, our co-host Fidel isn't here to talk about his beloved Blues, but I know he's out there excited and happy with the draw. Well, who knows? He can be happy right now on paper, but you never know, man. With a team like Porto, a sneaky team like that, Cinderella team, who knows? He might have done better if he would have just got Madrid or something like that. But Chelsea Porto, man, what are your thoughts on that matchup? And do you think Chelsea's it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to advance to the semifinal?
Man, I think out of all of them, this is probably going to be the one that it's going to be the trickiest. I'm going to say Chelsea, but man, the way that Porto fought when they played Juve, that grind that they had, that mindset, even though it looked like they weren't going to make it, and they ended up scoring a last goal. Was it like 10 minutes till or something like that?
Yeah.
It just shows just the will and the power that they had, that not to give up. So I'm like, when you play a team like that, I'm like, it's hard because they might not have the talent compared to the other team, but they got that heart.
They got
And
that grit.
sometimes that heart, that grit will surpass any star player.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned in the Spanish show, man. Obviously, I'm gonna go with Chelsea in this one as well, but I don't think it's gonna be an easy process as we're all thinking, where they're just gonna run over Porto and just move on.
Oh,
Like
no.
they I think Porto came out here to showcase what kind of talent they have, and even though it's not, and I said so myself. This isn't a Porto team that's world class like prior editions of Porto that we've seen, that they have world class players and things of that nature. But for whatever reason, this team has been more united in this tournament, and they've shown that, and they obviously shown their chemistry and their talents on the pitch to be able to go up against a Italian giant like Juventus and outlast them. Especially having a monster like Cristiano Ronaldo now the side facing them. So I mean, it's tricky because aside of me, not just because they're facing Chelsea, they could have faced which other one of the other clubs from this quarterfinal, right? But it's something about having a Cinderella story in these tournaments, that's just so appealing to fans and to myself, because it shows that regardless of all the talent or all the money that you spend on your team or on your club, at the end of the day, what matters is what's on the pitch, and how together you are as a team, and how united you are as a club, to go on these tournaments and play these games like there's no tomorrow, and I think that's the way Porto's playing, and I think they're playing with house money. Obviously, we know that, and they might just, hey, well, you know what, we're gonna keep going all in, and when a team goes all in, it makes it a whole lot more difficult for a team that's quote unquote favorite in this tournament and in this round to approach them and match up with those guys. So we'll see, man. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Chelsea on this one, but not as easily as we all think. And the last one, obviously, we saved it a little bit for last because it's the rematch of the 2019 and 2018. No, I'm sorry, 2018 Champions League final. And that is the Real Madrid-Liverpool matchup. Obviously, our other co-host, Little Man, passionate about Madrid. He feels that Madrid has what it takes to lift the cup this season. I think he's delusional, and I think he might be high. But but with that being said, I mean, we all know that he has the heart and passion, and loves Madrid to death. Aurelio, what are your thoughts? I mean, it's kind of a crazy matchup, this one, because we know Liverpool has no defense, but Madrid has no offense. So,
Man, it's like a perfect matchup for two teams that are struggling. I guess you can call it like that. I'm like, I think Liverpool's probably struggling more in the Premier League than Real Madrid is, but it's two teams that they're not at their best at the moment. Yes, they did make a quarter. They're in the quarters of the champions, so that has to say a lot for both. Doesn't matter how they got there, but I'm like it's like I said, it's like a perfect matchup for two teams that are not at the top of their game. I'm gonna go with Liverpool just because I think their midfield, their way of play is probably gonna it's not gonna work in favor of Real Madrid. Um, but I'm like I wouldn't be surprised if Real Madrid comes out. I'm like it wouldn't be the craziest thing I've seen. So, but on this, I'm gonna go with Liverpool.
it's funny because I think this is the most evenly matchup of the four quarterfinal matchups. But it's funny because the reason they're so evenly matched because it's because of one's weakness on one side and the other one's weakness on the other side, right? Obviously, we know that both clubs are missing, players. They're missing, big name players. Obviously. The funny thing about this is, Madrid, for all, obviously I'm a Barcelona fan, but I do have to applaud them for the fact that that they've made it this far, especially with the lack of goals and the lack of offense that they do have. But for whatever reason, when it comes to Champions League play, they get up and play. Zidane finds that magic potion or those magic words to speak in the dressing room, and those guys get up for Champions League games and go after it, man. So got to applaud those guys over there in Madrid. But, in the same time, Liverpool on the other side, they really don't have anything else to play for. For them, honestly, their chances to get a Champions League spot in the Premier League are slim to none right now. So this is really the only avenue that they have to get to Champions League football for next season. So this is an all or nothing, whatever, matchup for them. So like I said, once again, when you give a team that aspect, like, hey, this is our all or nothing. If you guys want to play Champions League football next season, then you need to show up for these games and think about qualifying for next, and think about winning this edition of this tournament. Which will be
they're not that far off. They're only 5 points.
Yeah. I mean, I know you say that, but I mean, but then again, you also got to look at the competition that's ahead of them, and they're not, and those teams are not losing key players, especially on defense, like they are. So,
Tottenham's on top in front of them, and they're not playing very well.
Yeah, but
so I'm like, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm like, they're not that far off. I'm like, it's only 5 points. I know there's only was it like 10 games left or something like that? But
yeah,
I'm like,
but I think they're a lot closer to Arsenal than what they are to Chelsea. So,
well, 4 and 5.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man. So like I said, I mean, it's gonna be. I think it's an evenly matched up, but I think Liverpool does take it because of the fact that they do have a little bit more offensive power. With Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, and then obviously Roberto Firmino. I do agree with you on the midfield, even though Madrid's midfield is pretty high up there as well. But when Wijnaldum, Thiago, and Henderson, I mean, those guys right there, they control they can control a game like none other. And obviously with Modric, Casemiro and Kroos, they can too. But the thing is, like, who do those guys pass to for them to score the goals? That midfield can pass to Mane, Sane, and Firmino, and they can score the goals. But if Benzema is not on his A game, they're gonna have a tough time scoring. So that's why I'm gonna go with Liverpool over Madrid, even though I know our amiguito over there, Luis Padilla, says 13-time champions. Like, yeah, we know the past, but we're talking about the now. So. So we're gonna go with Liverpool here on this one. I think we'll see, man. But like I said, I know myself and you, Aurelio, we've kind of agreed on all of them, but it'll be fascinating to see if we miss on one or two of these, men, and if it really shakes up the semifinals, for the Champions League, because it's that's the thing. We all know the favorites on paper and everything, who have the talent, who has a deeper team, and all those things. But at the end of the day, it's like I said, what's going on the pitch, With that being said, we're gonna keep talking about one of the clubs right now that's in the quarterfinals in PSG. PSG, unfortunately, right now they've had a plan set for them to do after the season in the summer. They were going to sign Messi. They were going to reunite him with Neymar. There was talks about bringing Ramos over to the defense. Wasn't too sure about Mbappe, what he was going to do, if he was going to sign an extension or not. Things of that nature. But right now, it looks like PSG might be on the wrong side of everything right now, as far as with players and all those things. They've kind of given Kylian Mbappe an ultimatum. When he comes back from international break and these Euro qualifiers, I think that they're about to play, they want an answer from him. They want an answer to a question that I think is fair to ask as a club, especially when their star player is down to his last 2 seasons on contract with that team. Do you want to continue with the project that we have going on here in Paris, or do you want to move on? Obviously, for a player, especially with the value and that Kylian Mbappe has, only a handful of teams can really afford to buy Mbappe straight out from under PSG. Excuse me. So the easier route would be to run down the contract and just go on a free. But obviously, Paris is not going to allow that to happen. They're going to sell this. If their answer is not being given, then they're going to assume it's a no, he doesn't want to continue, and they're going to look to sell Kylian Mbappe, which I think is the right move. Obviously, us as Arsenal fans, we know about players trying to run down contracts and leaving on a free, and then not getting anything for these players, and then after the investment that we made on those players and things of that nature, and that's not a way to run a club. That's not a way to run a club and keep them financially sound, right? Aurelio, your thoughts, because obviously with the news of Kylian Mbappe, other news of Neymar not being so quick to announce his to sign his extension that we all thought was already done, but apparently is not done yet. So a lot of rumors out here circulating that things were being already kind of tied down at PSG, but obviously all just rumors because nothing's been put down to ink. So PSG could really realistically come out here losing both Mbappe and Neymar, and not gain Messi, obviously, if that happens. What are your thoughts on what's going on with PSG right now?
So it looks like they're in a little mess on their end. I'm pretty sure they'll have something set for the next couple of weeks. That's two stars right there that you have to have an answer, whether it's now or if it's in a couple of weeks. I honestly think before the summer begins or the summer transfer begins, I'm like, it's all going to be said and done.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to stay or they're going to go. I honestly think they're both going to stay. I think they're both a lot happier with the new coach. I think it's going a lot better with them. It's probably going to help not just them, but probably try to have other players join them.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem I see there is just where the money's going to come from, because I'm like, there's no people in the stands. I'm like, you're playing on empty stadiums most of the time, so it's going to be hard to find the money to bring anybody. Or I'm like, where are these other teams going to get the money from to buy an Mbappe, because it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think Mbappe's if I'm a betting man, I think either Neymar and Mbappe. I think Mbappe is going to be the one that's going to leave PSG if I had to choose between those two guys. And with that being the case, I mean, if he does and you sell him, that brings in a lot of funds to PSG, and with those funds, you can do a lot of things. And you can still entice Neymar to stay, depending because I mean, like I said, it's looking more and more that the Messi decision will be to stay at Barcelona instead of to look abroad to another project with PSG or Man City. Those things look to be kind of fading away. He seems to be a little bit more happier, enjoying his soccer in Barcelona, and then especially with the new president Joao Laporta coming in. I think he feels a lot more. I think he feels like there's more direction now, and there's a purpose in Barcelona and a new project for titles to come into Barcelona. So but that's today. Obviously at the end of the day, I think Messi. He said he's going to make a decision at the end of the year, at the end of the season, and I honestly agree that he's going to make that decision at the end of the season once he's done with all this playing this season and all the tournaments and everything, and he'll make that decision. But obviously, I think if Messi does choose PSG, obviously Neymar signs the extension, he stays. Messi and Neymar get reunited in PSG, and we'll see what happens with that. But if Messi does decide to stay in PSG, does decide to stay in Barcelona, excuse me, PSG can go a number of different ways because I mean, you have. They've mentioned bringing Cristiano Ronaldo over to PSG. We know Juventus is they're not really achieving what they were supposed to achieve with Cristiano Ronaldo, and this season has been a major step back because they're not even competing for the league title this season. And obviously they were knocked out of the Champions League this past round. So that looks like a failed project. And Juventus, to be honest, they can still make money off of a Cristiano Ronaldo. So it wouldn't be any big amazement if they sold Cristiano Ronaldo to PSG to line him up with Neymar and build a team with those two superstars. But then you also have obviously if Kylian Mbappe does decide to leave, but Madrid doesn't come in with the money that they want, and other teams come in like Liverpool, it's a lot of scenarios that can happen. It's gonna be an interesting summer, is all I can say. Any thoughts on any of this love hexagon? It's not even the love triangles now. It's like a love hexagon.
I'm like, it's whoever's trying to go for Mbappe. I'm like, where are they getting the funds from? Just because you're a big club doesn't mean you have a lot of money to spend either. Because I'm like, your main, I guess not your main, but most of your money comes from ticket holders. If you're not putting people in the seats, where can you justify to bring out, it's going to be like 150, 200 million euros or 150 to 200 million pounds?
Yeah. Let me ask you a question real quick before we leave, man. This is obviously the last topic of the day, but which domino has to fall first, you think? But just to make the whole thing go around. I mean, because obviously, excluding the fact, if Mbappe comes back for an international break, says, you know what, no, I don't want to be here, and gives him a direct answer, that's obviously the first domino, right? The Mbappe decision. But when the summer comes, what's the first domino that has to go down? Is it Messi's decision? Is it Juventus trying to sell Cristiano? Is it a buyer for Mbappe?
Whoever comes with the money first. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be like a domino effect. I think it's just whoever's willing to make the deal first, if there's a deal to be made.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting summer. I'm looking forward to the summer transfer window, but obviously we got a couple of championships still up for grabs. Champions League included. A couple of league titles still up for grabs. We got cups coming to their finals and things of that nature. So it's going to be an interesting next couple of months in club play. And then after that, during the summer transfer window, it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see where everybody ends up going, especially with a lot of big names involved, because, names like Cristiano Ronaldo, Mbappe, Neymar, Messi, Elian Haaland, which are arguably the top 5 players in the world right now, maybe excluding, Lewandowski, but yeah, it's going to be a very interesting summer transfer window, man. But with all that being said, guys, we come to the end of our show. Like I said, the English show usually is a shorter, abbreviated version of our Spanish version, just trying to keep it nice, crisp, and direct. Guys, if there's anything that you want to talk about, that we usually don't come around and talk about, Guys, let us know in the comment section. Give us a thumbs up. Please, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Let us know. What else you want to talk about. If there's any other clubs or leagues that you want to talk about, please let us know. Aurelia, do you want to say anything before we go?
Man, like I said, just thanks for watching us. I'm like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm like, man, let your friends know.
For sure. All right, guys, y'all have a good night, man, and enjoy all the international soccer this weekend.
All right, good night.